and welcome. This is Sherry Bevan from The Confident Mother. Welcome to day 4 of your 10-day LinkedIn challenge. So this is the challenge to help you get noticed and make a bigger impact on LinkedIn. Yesterday we looked at your professional headline, so what you want to get noticed for, and your additional task for yesterday was to think about your core values, so what's really important to you about how you do it. Today then we're going to look at your summary. Now your summary is a fabulous opportunity to really showcase your skills, your talents and your achievements. This is where you can share your story. You're limited to 2,000 characters, but actually that's a good number of characters. And really, when you're writing your summary or writing your story, I want you to think about it from the employer or potential client's perspective. So this is where you get to say who you are, what you do, who you help, and how you do it. So those are the key things you really want to get across in your summary. And it is very much about first impressions. So the first things that people see about you are your headline that we've already worked on and your photo. And then your summary is the next thing. And depending on what's written in the summary, if it's enticing enough, if it gets you noticed, that is when people will then choose to scroll down and look at the rest of your experience. So for example, if you've got some fantastic awards, you've done something amazing, like you've run the world in 3 hours, or you've worked for some really prestigious organisations, mention those in your summary because they will get you noticed. I know when, a few years ago when I had worked at Arthur Andersen, the very fact that I'd been there for 10 years, that got me interviews and got me through the door of organisations, never mind the rest of my experience. But the very fact that I'd worked at that particular accountancy firm was very interesting to people. So I'm going to give you a couple of sort of structures that you can use depending on whether you're coming back after a career break or redundancy, or if you're running a business. So let's have a look at a couple of these. So the first one, if you are on a career break, what I suggest that you do, and this is equally applicable if you're coming back after redundancy, is to think about your professional background, what you've been doing on your career break, and what your career goal is now. So for example, in your story or in your elevator pitch that you might use when you're out networking face to face, my background is, I've been on a career break during which time so if you've been on a career break, perhaps you've done some volunteering, or you've been involved in a major relocation or refurbishment project, and I'm now looking for, so just saying what it is that you're looking for. So that's your career break story structure that you can use. For example, this is somebody who had been on a career break, and while she was on the career break, although during that time she was raising small children, she also set up and managed an internet investor newsletter. So she's explained that in her profile there, in her experience. So it's absolutely fine to mention that you've had a career break. You don't, in my opinion, you don't necessarily need to say what that career break was for. But what is very useful is to explain what else you were doing in that career break, so that employers see that you've still got good skills and that you've been kind of keeping your brain ticking, so to speak. Similarly, if you're coming back after redundancy, my background is in my last position, so tell them a bit about what you did, and I'm now looking for, so you tell them what you're looking for. And if you run a business, then you probably are already quite familiar with how to promote and sell your business, but it comes down to saying what you do, how you do it, and why it works. So now what I'd like to do is to show you some examples of people and their summary. So I'm going to take you and look at my own summary and just give you the director's cut, so to speak. So if I go up to me and I choose view profile, So the summary is this bit that appears just underneath your profile photo, underneath your professional headline. And if I click on see more, so we are limited to 2,000 characters. So I use the format that Nikki Krill suggested to me, although I don't follow it exactly, but she recommends that you have in capitals here what I do, how I do it, and then her suggestion is to have why it works. I don't actually have that on mine. So here I say what I do. So this is where, you know, I slip in the fact that I used to work in the city, that I've come from a global head of IT service, that's positioning myself as being somebody with leadership experience. And now I work with ambitious women who want to develop their career in leadership while confidently balancing work and life. So it's kind of setting out my story. That's who I was, this is who I am now. And then how I do it. So this is where I explain how I do it. You know, that I work with women one-to-one or in groups, and that we explore a range of topics. I give them a bit of background here, and I mention some of those prestigious organisations that I worked for. So again, I mention the fact I've worked in technology and professional services. I mention it's Arthur Andersen. Some people today haven't heard of Arthur Andersen, but they became Deloitte. I mentioned Credit Suisse because that's a good, solid organisation to have worked for, and I mentioned McDermott, Will and Emery. And then down here, I say how I work with women, what type of women I work with, that I do group and one-to-one coaching, that I do workshops, diversity, and I mention my online conference, and I mention my weekly podcast shows. So it's kind of giving people a flavour of the type of things that I do. And I also mention that I still do some freelance work, either part-time or quick fix projects in technology and professional services. And actually for me, I've been doing that portfolio career for about 8 years now, 7 years maybe. And for me, that's been brilliant to be able to have the best of both career worlds. But it kind of keeps my foot in the door, so I really understand what professional women are going through, the challenges that they face, but at the same time I have that objectivity. And then I also use this to kind of, you know, highlight the fact that I'm often invited to comment on radio and TV and on print on various topics around working mothers, equality, diversity. And then this is my call to action, if you like, marketing speak, or this is where I'm telling them what to do next. So if you are on a career break, you might want to mention there how they can get in touch with you. Yes, it's in your contact and personal information, but it's just another way of highlighting how to get in touch. So that's my profile. I'm going to show you a couple of other profiles as well. So I'm going to have a look at Hannah's profile. Now, Hannah is a client that I worked with a few months ago, and when I first started to work with Hannah, her summary said something like, I am a partner at the law firm Gunnar Cook LLP, and that was it. And but as you can see, she's since changed her summary with my guidance, and she has commented a couple of times that it's made a real impact and more people are getting in touch with her. So whereas previously her headline was simply partner at Gunnar Cook LLP, she's now putting there that she's a legalese coach, she's helping lawyers love life in law, she's a partner at Gunnar Cook, and that she's a speaker as well. And so this is what she's done in here. She's got some background of what she's doing. She explains the approach that they have at Gunnar Cook and the areas that she specialises in. And then she also mentions the other work that she's now doing about authentically speaking, the coaching work that she's doing. So that's a really lovely summary, and it's a really great way of showcasing her skills and talent. So I'm just going to show you one more summary, which I think is a fabulous example. So Susan Payton is the founder of the Business of Stories, and I love Susan's summary. So this is her experience, and actually she doesn't have a summary, so I might go and have a chat with Susan. So in her experience though, under the Business of Stories, Susan helps businesses tell their story, so their personal story, their business story, and their customer story. And what I love about this particular summary is how she tells a story in here, that the most incredible thing happened to me when I told my story. So she's actually telling us a story in her summary. And because of the businesses she's in, it's lovely. And then she has got her call to action down here. I'd love to help you tell it. My email is, so she's making it very clear how to get in touch with her. And a nice little, she's got the end at the end. So I think that is a fabulous example of how you can write a story in your summary. And actually that's why I've called today's challenge, What's Your Story? So today's challenge for you then, for your quick fix, if you've just got 5 minutes, I want you to write your summary or review your summary if you already have one, and put your story in there. So you can use one of the templates that I've given you, the career break one or the redundancy one, and you can use either of those if you're simply looking for another job, or you can use the business one, so who you are, what you do and why it helps. If you've had a look at your summary and you feel it's in a good place, then what I encourage you to do is to think about other people who do the same thing as you, either run a similar business, or who, if you're a marketing manager, other marketing managers. Just go and do a search and see what the story or what the summary is of people that you'd be competing against. And when you think about your summary, do think about what your employer or client will be looking for.